Welcome everybody to this webcast from Ultimate Canada. We are here in Brampton, Ontario. We have a great opportunity to this afternoon to share with you guys the Master Men, the Open Division final for the Master Division, featuring Borderline from Nova Scotia and New Brunswick in the bluish jerseys. And the other team is Max Power coming from Ontario. Borderline being ranked initially number 1 of this tournament, and Max Power being ranked initially number 5. I will have the great pleasure to share this webcast with Lucas Main. Hello, Lucas. How are you?
I'm doing all right, Etienne. Oh my God, my voice isn't though. Okay.
Your voice is perfect.
Thank you.
I see you wearing your Blackfish jersey. How was your tournament?
It was all right. Ended a bit early in the quarterfinals this morning. You guys got to see us on the live stream this morning, but the rest of the day went great.
So glad to share this webcast with you, Lucas. So Borderline starting the game on offense. Right off the bat, a nice flick, long flick. Was that caught in? Yes, indeed, it was. So Borderline right off the back, scoring the first point of this Master Open Division.
And it looked like a simple cut from the back of a vertical stack after a quick dish from the person who picked the pull up and threw it straight deep. The wind is coming a little bit across the field here from the left to the right, but it also cutting directly horizontally across the field as well. So that was a very, very impressive flick.
So there was 6 teams into the Master Division, the Open Master Division in this tournament, and it's quite surprising to see Max Power was initially ranked number 5, making it to the final. So that was the Cinderella team of this tournament. They played very well. They have so far haven't suffered any loss into their tournaments. So, and while Borderline, I believe, have lost 2 games. One by Universal, and the other one to, I believe it's to Max Power. Nonetheless, 2 great teams in the final. Looking forward for great action, great excitement. And the first point was very well executed. Always love to see a 70-yard long flick to start a game. Orange shirt, Max Power in possession with his have to fight through this zone defense set up by Borderline. Nice lateral movement, keeping possession of the disc. You see these guys are experienced. They can handle the wind that's blowing on the field today. Nice little bladey-ish to number 0, Neil Griffith, which I had the privilege to play with in the World's Beach and going back in 2011, already 7 years ago. Great player. Max Power is still in possession, now having to battle against a man-to-man defense. Great transition by Borderline. Max Power threatening in the red zone. Nice flick at the doorstep of the end zone, looking to score the first point, their first point of this game, but there was a foul call, I believe, on the mark. There was a lot of traffic in there.
Yeah, and I believe the person who has the disc right now, that disc wasn't intended for him. I believe Neil was trying to get it into the end zone to another receiver, but he cut it short, thinking the throw was for him.
And here's the point, and it's confirmed by the observers. We have a tight game, 2-1 early in this first half of this Master Open Division final, featuring Max Power from Ontario versus Borderline from Nova Scotia, New Brunswick.
And Borderline, yeah, only coming out with a zone for the first 3 or 4 passes there, maybe to throw off any preset plays that Max Power was looking to come out with on the gate. And switching to person matchup pretty soon after that. We'll have to see if Max Power now will actually bring a zone defense against Borderline to see if they'll do the same thing, maybe cause an early turnover on their end zone line and make it easy to break.
So far, the 2 O-line have made a clear statement that they are in control, looking to value the disc very well. So let's see how long the O-lines can sustain. We're still very early, and there's a lot of ultimate to be played.
It's encouraging to see that both O-lines did play so easily in the first one there, because it means that potentially we're going to see a very even game the entire time. A couple hour games earlier and in the open division, there was a lot of O-lines getting broken right off the bat, and that obviously shakes your team up a bit. But both teams looking very strong right off the start here.
Alors nous sommes au championnat canadien d'Ultimate, la division Master Open. C'est la grande finale qui oppose Borderline de la Nouvelle-Écosse, Nouveau-Brunswick, qui sont en bleu foncé, bleu marin, contre Max Power, les chandails orange, l'équipe de l'Ontario. Max Power était classé initialement numéro 5, tandis que Borderline était classé initialement premier de ce tournoi. Max Power qui a jusqu'à ce jour une fiche parfaite dans ce tournoi. Ils n'ont pas subi la défaite encore. Alors l'équipe surprise de ce championnat Master Open édition 2018. Borderline in possession, moving the disc around, being pressured man to man. A little bump by number 25, Calvin Ho, trying to put a mark, but stumbling over his opponent. Still, Borderline in possession, moving the disc very nicely. Nice cutting, not much yardage gain, but there you go, getting into the red zone, threatening to score a second point. Still on offense, floating disc, and it's being caught and confirmed by the observers. So Borderline's taking a short 2-1 lead early in this game.
And it looked like the handler actually threw the assist there, was getting frustrated with his offense downfield. No one really creating a good opportunity for him to throw it, and then he decided on the big around flick to the open side in the end, all over the entire stack.
No break yet in this final. We're here in Brampton, Ontario. We had a magnificent day, weather-wise, no rain, warm but not too much. A little windy, I gotta admit, just enough to challenge the players, and I guess you can talk about it with the games you've played today.
Yeah, it was
in the open division.
It was definitely challenging. I think a lot of the experienced throwers weren't having too much trouble. The wind was steady, and it makes it a little easier to judge your throws when you know exactly where the wind's going to be. Usually most trouble I personally and anybody on our team would have trouble with was when it was gusting, when you didn't know when the wind was going to flare up, and a flick you usually can complete easily doesn't make it to its intended receiver.
So it's a final, and most of the teams have completed their journey through this 2018 National Championship. So you see the beer garden is always a popular place to hang out on the Saturday afternoon of a National Championship weekend. So a lot of people enjoying the last hours of their journey through this tournament. Max Power in possession, moving the disc around, not letting the stall getting too high. Nice fakes. Looking for a reset. The stall was getting high, losing some yardage. Nice break, throw, flick. Nice dish, moving the disc around. Max Power in control. Great man-to-man pressure by Borderline, looking to get their first break point of this championship game. Max Power is still very patient, valuing that disc. This will be a game of disc value. Obviously, the two teams doing excellent disc movement. Great inside cut, not much long threat so far, but just to have me lie. There you go, Max Power scoring, tying the game to 2 with about a 25-yard long passes.
Yeah, the commentators cursed there, explaining there was lots of passes back and forth between the handlers, and then one big throw over the top. It looked like Borderline was trying to restrict all deep throws, having Max Power work the unders constantly and hoping for a mistake somewhere along the line. Max Power obviously didn't make that mistake and punched it in the end zone. Haven't seen any standout plays yet. We saw a layout in the third point there, but nothing to show that the defense is going to actually make something happen. Hopefully, well, I think both teams hoping for the other team to make a mistake rather than make it happen themselves.
And that's pretty typical of a master game, I guess. Just, you know, putting some pressure, but waiting for the mistake to happen. And then making sure you punish the other team for the whatever unforced error they have committed, and make sure you take the lead. So it's a game tied at 2. So far, great execution by both O-line. No turnovers yet. So we'll see if the defending team can take advantage of whatever first turnover that will happen. So borderline at serve with the strike threat, but being shut down. Oh, there's a nice bid by Max Power, number 1. A long pass deep in the end zone. Was that caught in? No, it was not caught at all. So we were looking for that first turnover, and here it is. So borderline losing possession with the first opportunity for Max Power to get a break point, but they will have to take the disc at their own end zone line, and they are 70 yards away from that very expected first break point. Max Power resetting in the middle with number 1 Marco Isrik working up the line. Nice break pass, nice dish. Lang finding Parson faking, holding the disc in his hand. There was a pick call earlier, didn't impact the play, I believe. I think that pick happened just maybe a little while ago, trying to figure out what happened. Still, the game is tied to 2. Borderline, or Max Power, indeed threatening to score the first break point. The observers ensuring that everything will be done as it should. Parson tapping the disc in, long, few yards shy of the first break point of the game. Faking, Stahl getting high, resetting in the middle. Nice pass and run action. Great fake, backhand, still Parson in possession. Max Power taking their time. Oh, that was a great bid. Oh, that was just tipped it just enough to create the defensive, and borderline back in possession after they lost. So their O-line getting the D, ensuring they're not getting broken. Well, at least not yet, but oh, that was
that was called out. Yeah, called out by the observer there
without any hesitation. So unfortunate, unforced error by borderline. Max Power threatening with a nice, oh, that was just, and it, was that in? Yes, and it's confirmed by the observer. Max Power scoring a 3rd point, and that's a break.
There is some debate on the field here, though. It looks like there could have been a pick call on the cut up the line. They're going to the observer. The observers will conference about it.
Obviously, it was a tight call, since the observers needing to discuss to ensure whoever had the best perspective to see if there was indeed a pick call or not. Players are discussing about it. Nonetheless, it will be an observer's call. It's a very important point. So if Max Power can, whatever the ruling will be in favor of Max Power borderline, it can have a definitive impact on the output, at least of this first half. Always important to get that first break point, especially when you're playing a final at national level. So you can see the flags are pretty, we don't see it on the camera right now, but we see the different flags hanging over the field, being blown by the steady wind we're experiencing. So it was ruled there is no point, seems like. Alors il y a des discussions au niveau des observateurs. Là. Il y aurait eu un point inscrit par Max Power de l'Ontario, mais il y aurait eu un appel de pick qui aurait eu une influence sur la dernière action. Alors on tente de confirmer quelle est la direction que les observateurs vont donner à cette situation. Ça pourrait avoir un impact significatif. advenant que le point soit accordé. Ce serait un point bris en faveur de Max Power, mais sinon, ça serait une autre opportunité pour Borderline d'inscrire le point en offensive. Et c'est une décision qui sera en faveur de Borderline. So no point. Borderline still in possession with a third opportunity to score on offense. So still tie at 2 early in this first half of National Championship Master Open Division.
Let's see if Borderline can keep it together here. It's a bit of a long discussion and legs can get a bit weary. There are a lot of games deep, but looks like D there by the Max Powers player and no contests.
It was a long pass, but there was no clear separation with the receiver. But turnover on the reset, which can be very costly for Max Power. They will have to defend at their own goal line. So great opportunity for Borderline to close this point off and take a 1-point lead.
Yeah, keeping the game on serve.
Just a little pass and run. Very much ultimate 101 execution here, but very, very efficient. Borderline leading 3-2.
And Borderline, they're able to maintain composure after the long discussion with the observers and the call down on the far left-hand side of the field, bringing it back down the field with a big throw that was defended, but they got the disc back on an errant dump pass around. That looked like the handler in the middle just hadn't realized that the player with the disc was actually looking to hit him and threw it just way out of his reach.
It was a very interesting setup by Borderline. They just spread their cutters very deep into the end zone, just leaving lots of room for the handlers to make some movement, and it was very, very straightforward point. And I guess the Max Power defense got a little confused by this, I'd say, unusual setup.
I was going to say unusual, yeah. Just having a 1-2 pass, it's more like a soccer move where you pass it back and shoot on net. So very interesting play from Borderline there. Let's see if they can generate as much defense as Max Power made them really work for that offensive point, and see if they can get our first break of the game.
As you very well mentioned, Lucas, we're still waiting for that first break of the game. The O-line so far has delivered what is expected from them. Even though Borderline, they suffered from 2 or 3 turnovers in the last point. Can't recall it exactly, but still. 3-2 favoring Borderline. Max Power will have to try to score to tie the game against Borderline's zone defense right now. Moving the disc around. Static handlers. I think when you want to break any type of zone, you need to have active handlers and not just moving around the disc like that. You're not earning any yardage. Let's see how Max Power's strategy works out.
Yeah, and we haven't seen a lot of movement from the cutters upfield either. I'm not sure if you guys can see that, but the cutters are kind of stagnant as well, not generating anything. The handlers have looked up the field and they're not seeing what they want, so they're constantly swinging there with probably the 6 swing. And as I say that, break it up through the middle.
Oh, nice layout bid by Borderline defender. It was very close, but not close enough. So transitioning to a man-to-man defense, I believe. There you go. Max Power in the red zone, threatening to tie this game to 3. Very easily, very well. Nice cutting for the Max Power player, Chris Loth, scoring the 3rd point of his team, tying the game to 3.
And Max Power looked like, that was that, as I was saying, that they were passing it back and forth. That one break through the cup was what put Borderline on their heels to have to move backwards into that man-to-man defense. And then Max Power took over from them. It looks like Max Power's, you said earlier, Etienne, that it was Max Power had beat Borderline earlier in this tournament. So potentially some lessons learned from that game, and it looks like they know exactly where they can beat them, maybe a bit more with their legs rather than some fancy passes, because that's what it looked like there.
The Master Open Division, there was a lot of upsets. There were 6 teams. Out of those 6 teams, Viper and a Silverback I think they haven't won a game during that pool play tournament, but still Ensom, Queen City Kings, Borderline, and Max Power. Everybody had beaten one another, exception of Max Power, who have won it all the way.
Undefeated here, yeah.
Very, very well balanced, I'd say, Master Division this year. Only 16 participating in that national championship, but still, very great level of ultimate being played.
I was actually just about to comment how both teams have had excellent pulls thus far, but there goes our first errant pull out of bounds. So Borderline's going to bring the disc up to the brick mark here.
And how important is an inbound pull in ultimate, eh?
Absolutely. It's like having a great kickoff in football.
Great comparison. Borderline moving the disc around, attacking the line, being stressed by orange shirt defense, putting a lot of pressure on those handlers, looking to swing the disc with success, getting into the red zone. Still nice handler movement, little lefty, dishing out the disc. Oh, that was a lot of pressure by Long. Oh, and a nice flick, a nice field awareness by number 19 from Borderline, Darren Clark, with a nice flick on the break side, reaching out to his teammate, and still Borderline leading by 1.
And it was great recognition by the cutter in the stack there to actually pull themselves to the break side, probably knowing that the person with the disc there, Darren, had an easy, or not an easy, knows how to throw an inside-out flick to that side of the field. So great recognition there. Again, a little bit shaky from Borderline, and a couple of great opportunities for Max Power to try and make some Ds. They had a couple of layouts on that point as well that we had almost touching. And I think Max Power actually, for me, looks like the better defensive team. They've made Borderline work a little bit harder for their goals. And if Borderline comes out with another zone look here, it looks like they start with a 2-3-2 with 2 people marking the handlers, 3 people in the mids, and then 1 and 2 people switching in the deep lanes. If they come back with that again, we'll hope that they can generate something and not have Max Power just calmly passing the disc back and forward on the field.
I agree with you that so far it seems like Max Power has shown more athleticism than Borderline, at least on defense. So let's see if there's any, what will be the output of what seems to be an advantage for Max Power.
So Borderline player with the pull here. And another good pull inbounds.
Max Power, O-line 4-3. Favoring Borderline. The 2 teams have been exchanging point. Their O-line has not been broken, even though Max Power had great opportunity earlier, about 2 points ago. It was a call, but no, not much arguing about that. Neil Griffith piping it long on the flick. And that's not in. Very close, but about a yard, less than a yard, but a quick reset, pass and run, just like we like to see. Basic, ultimate, very efficient, and Max Power tying the game to 4.
Almost identical to that point we saw two points ago where Max Power had it right on the goal line, passed it back to the handler, just cut to the open side and grabbed it inbounds this time. The player could have shown a bit more awareness maybe and had not straddled the end zone line on the first pass, because it was a great shot from Neil that almost put him in the end zone, but just a non-awareness there that he was about to almost be in.
Alors, c'est toujours l'égalité entre Borderline et Max Power en cette finale de la division Master Open de ce championnat canadien d'Ultimate édition 2018. Les 2 équipes, leur ligne offensive s'échangent les points. On cherche toujours à la recherche du premier point bris. Et plus on avance dans cette première demi, bien évidemment, plus le premier point bris prendra de l'importance, aura définitivement un impact sur qui repartira à la maison avec la médaille d'or à son cou, à tout le moins dans ses bagages. So the further we go into this first half, I believe it's tied at 4. We're halfway in that first half. The further we go, the O-line exchanging point, that break point will have a significant impact on the output of this game and who will get back home with a gold medal around his neck.
Yeah, and I think if Max Power can get that break in this first half here, they're going to start the second half on offense. So it affords them a little bit of an advantage there as well, with their O-line doing so well thus far.
It's hard to tell who has the most pressure. The team that was initially ranked number 1, that has lost a game against Max Power during that tournament, is looking for redemption, or Max Power that has won all of their games and looking to get back home with a 0-6 or I'd say 0-7 victory. So, or 7-0, forgive me. So Parson with the disc.
Max Power's defensive opportunity here. Oh, and almost a second chance at that one. I was just going to say that they weren't looking as confident as they did a minute ago. But borderline back on offense now.
So far, every time we say something, the opposite just happening.
I'll just probably keep quiet till the end of the point.
I suspect both teams they have mic'd us and we're not aware of it, and just say, let's make sure those webcasters are saying stuff that are not true.
And it looks like most of the marks here have been quite tight, and we've finally got a foul call on the mark. But it was contested. It's coming in on a 4 by the observer's fingers there, I can see.
Borderline at the break mark, asking for the first time out of this first half of this national championship. Master Open Division. We're in Brampton, Ontario. Alors les deux équipes s'échangent les points, c'est toujours 4-4, toujours à la recherche de ce premier point bris. Il y a eu quelques opportunités du côté de Max Power, mais ils n'ont pas su concrétiser malheureusement. Alors nous en sommes au 4e web diffusion aujourd'hui. On a vu d'excellents matchs tout au long de la journée. Merci d'avoir été des nôtres et merci d'être avec nous encore une fois en cette fin de journée. So I was saying that this is our 4th webcast of the day, and I feel very, very privileged of the games I had the privilege to attend. Lots of skills, great ultimate, perfect spirit. Even though the observers, they're doing their job, but nothing to worry about. The spirit was still there. Sometimes it's okay to challenge. Sometimes you don't know because it happens so fast, and that's why the observers are there, just to make sure that everything runs smoothly. So it was a perfect day of ultimate as far as I'm concerned here in Brampton, Ontario. On the main field, you can see in the back the tents hosting the beer garden. Lots of people enjoying the end of their CUC journey. And you see an unusual setup still from Borderline with 2 players really in the back of the end zone, with one standing right up front, creating lots of space. Borderline taking advantage of that. Oh. Was that caught up?
Yeah, it looks
yes,
like it.
It was. So Borderline saving that pass. It was fairly low, but still it was caught, and they're taking back their 1-point lead 5-4.
Definitely not the intended receiver there who got the goal. I think there was a bit of a miscommunication. It was meant for somebody a little bit closer to the handler, and the person who actually ended up catching, I didn't see his number, but he was just sort of an accidental layout and made sure he held on to it for the goal there from Borderline. Again, like you mentioned, a very strange, or not, I don't want to say strange, I want to say unorthodox.
Creative, maybe.
Yeah.
Let's call it creative.
It was good, and I think what they were looking for there was, again, that inside-out throw to the first handler, which opens up the break side completely right if you have your defender flash over to try and make a play on it.
So, Lucas, tell me, how would you adapt your defense to that kind of creative setup in the O-line, in the end zone? Would you have the 2 defender guarding the 2 players in the corner, maybe to to slough a little in because, you know, what are the odds that they're going to throw like a blade to these two players? It's very, very risky, isn't it?
Exactly, and I think it's bold of Borderline to run that because, yeah, in calm conditions, yes, having those two people at the back of the end zone for a blade option, excellent. But in these conditions where your blade has to be pinpoint perfect, it's a bit tough. So I think, yeah, pull those guys 3 or 4 yards closer to the handlers and maybe look for a poach when the throw comes up from that side.
Nonetheless, Borderline is leading 5-4 with Max Power on serve. Great pulling zone defense by Borderline to see if they can create something, create a turnover. Max Power have responded very well to them being defended by a zone. There's some contact on the mark, not contested. That was pretty obvious. A little dish pass, moving the disc around, some active hander movements here. Floated disc, oh, that was a great bid, but a little too short. So that's what Borderline's trying to create. So nice blady pass. Nice disc movement. Griffith in possession in the red zone, but was there a travel call?
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks like he's calling a travel. The player, the number 83 here from Borderline, TJ Reeds, he came in looking for that bid, and he was the mid defender. And while he almost did get the defense, the D there, him being out of position allowed for that OI flick from Max Power to get connected. And unfortunately, they got called on a travel or something here. Otherwise, I think they were off to the races.
Yeah, that travel call when you just, taking a step and just dishing the disc very rapidly. I believe there's many travel call in this situation. I'm not sure it's always the proper call, but that's my own opinion.
And sometimes it's disadvantageous to call that too as a defender, to call a travel. I mean, in this case, maybe it was better. I could call to make it. But sometimes you can get caught calling a travel when you probably shouldn't have because they were just about to throw the disc away or something as well.
Good point. Nonetheless, Max Power still holding the disc, looking to tie this game to 5. Floating disc in the end zone. And yes, we have one more time a tie game. It's 5-all.
And Borderline and Max Power have actually used that throw a couple of times. It's the fade throw from the flick from the near side to the far side. Essentially what you're doing is you're throwing the disc over the top of your defender's head while they're looking at your receiver. So they don't know, unless their team is very active on calling ups, they don't know the disc is in the air or where it's going to be, whereas the receiver has one eye on it and they have a much easier route towards the disc. Seen it a couple of times from both teams here, both utilizing, even though the wind is coming from the far side to the near side, which makes that throw a little bit more difficult. We've seen both teams execute it pretty well.
Alors, c'est toujours l'impasse ici là, au championnat canadien d'Ultimate 2018. On assiste à la finale côté de la division Master Open et c'est Max Power qui vient de créer encore une fois l'égalité. Les deux équipes, les deux lignes offensives des deux équipes s'échangent les points et ça depuis le début du premier lancer d'engagement de cette grande finale. Et là, plus on avance dans la première demi, plus la tension monte. Là, de là, l'importance de ce premier point bris qui pourrait avoir une incidence tout à fait marquante sur le résultat et qui remportera la médaille d'or de ce championnat canadien Master Open. Alors, there's no tension rising, but I feel like everybody's looking for that first break point and try to adapt and try new stuff. We have seen Borderline playing a great zone defense so far, while we're seeing a great backhand floating, but will that be cut? Oh my God, that was cut. Wow, 70-yard long backhand resulting in a laid out for the point. What a show by Borderline.
And that mirrors almost identically the first point we saw from Borderline, where they came out, one pass to the middle, and then boosted it deep. Same thing here, that cutter just took off. And his handler said, yeah, I'll give it a go. Why not? And yeah, massive layout grab at the end zone, the far end zone there to reel it in. I was impressed that he came up with it. Looked like he got his chest over the top of it. It might have popped out of his hands when he was on the ground, but turned up and the observer called him in. So great grab by a Borderline player there. I'm still not sure what his number is to look up his name, but I'm sure for the folks at home, you can recognize him and give him props for that big grab.
So once again, the players on the field has proved me wrong. I was about to say, oh, that was a great pass, but a little too much gas on it. But whoever the cutter was, he say, hey, I'm going to prove it's him wrong once again. And I'm going to lay out and grab that disc and give my team a 6th goal in this first half. And taking the lead back, still only by 1, exchanging the punches so far. Borderline will be pulling to max power.
And we're still at, I think, less than maybe 6 or 7 turnovers for both teams here. Both teams playing very clean offense. That one only requiring 2. So we'll see what max power can respond with here. Almost out of his reach, but he manages to grab it.
So max power, great lateral movement. Great dishes. Nice fake. Resetting. Not gaining much yardage, but still in possession of the disc.
Neil is deep.
Fires it to Neil Griffith. Catches it pretty easily. Great separation from his defender. Nice flick throw, about 30, let's say 40 yards long. So max power responding. Every punch they receive, they respond back so far in this first half.
And Neil did a great job there of adjusting his cut. He was about to come under when the player who actually threw him the pass, the goal, was going under for the disc as well. He held up, punched the brakes, and pumped the brakes, sorry, and turned around and went deep and created a great amount of separation for his handler to throw him the disc. I was almost going to say before the throw goes up, if you don't throw it deep, that'd be a shame, because he had made such a great, well-timed and great separating cut.
Feel like we're looking at a chess match. Both teams just looking, okay, how am I gonna beat this team? Just exchanging punches so far. 6-all, borderline in dark blue, max power in the orange shirt. Borderline will be receiving. So significant amount of people in the stands enjoying the end of their CUC journey.
Yeah, looking around, doesn't look like any games besides this one are still being played. So we should have, the beer gardens filled up and the stands are getting full here too.
Borderline at their own brick mark, looking to find ways. Here fires a long pass, but oh, that will land out of bound. So about close to half of the field. So an opportunity for max power. Another one. They're the team that had the most opportunity to get a break point so far in this first half. So let's see if the orange shirts can take advantage of this opportunity. It's a game of opportunity. If you don't take them, you will lose. Long going pass up the line to Parsons. Getting at the brick mark. On the doorstep of a break point. Max power. Resetting. Dump. Nice bid by Borderline, but there was some contact there. Want to make sure everybody's safe. Everybody's okay.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if the max power player actually may have called foul, intending to throw the disc and gain that advantage, where if they had turned it over, the disc was coming back. But they're still hanging on to it, a high stall count.
Long with the disc. Looking for his teammate at the corner. 2 yards away from a point. There was a lot of action in the stack. There were some picks. Lots of traffic looking to attack the open side. Well, there's a wide hole on the break side. Let's see how Parson takes advantage of that. Long with a lateral pass. Moving the disc, being patient, knowing the awards of getting the first break point. Still Parson at the same corner. Floating disc, Long catches it. Is that in? Yes, it is. We were looking for that break point. Here it is, Max. Power taking the lead for the first time of the game, 7-6.
And the key there, I think, was the first cut up the line from the handler to get a large amount of yards right up the line. It was a tough throw. It was floating a bit. I'm surprised no one came off of the defense, of Borderline's defense came out to poach that disc off because it was in the air for quite a long time. But then we had the stoppage for the picks in the stack, and Max Power doing a great job of holding their own right in the red zone. They were in there for a few passes, but finally able to jam it in and yeah, like you said, take the first break of the game. And now that we're looking to break again to take half, if they're able to do that, they'll actually gain another advantage because they will be coming out in the second half on offense and have a natural break opportunity.
The last point of Max Partner is not something I would call like a textbook end zone play. It was not very that clean. When that disc, like you throw a floating disc, even though you have confidence into your receiver, with the win and considering what's at stake here, it's something, if there was a coach, I used to coach, and, even though my team scores in that type of play, something I'm not too fan of. But, the result, the output is you just break your opponent for the first time, and now you're threatening to win the half because you're leading 7-6, and the first time Max Power is taking the lead in that game.
Yeah, not a big fan of the high release either, and I think, yeah, they definitely got away with something, especially with the wind there. But see if Borderline can answer really quickly here. And, as I say, that's a pick call. That's probably a turnover. That it is.
And there's a timeout call right off the bat. So there was a pick call, but the throw was made, so it's a continuation. And since it was a deed by Max Power, it's a turnover, and Max Power quickly calls a timeout, and they have the first half output in their hands. They are in a great position to take the 2-point lead, which would be the first in this game. So taking a 2-point lead and taking the half is definitely something you want to do when you are playing any games of Ultimate, but when you're playing a championship game, well, can I say it's your game plan? Well, I guess I can say that. I just said it.
It'll be interesting to see what Max Power's game plan coming out of this timeout will be. They have the disc at about a quarter of the way into the field here. Lots of room on this side, the near side of the field, to move the disc. And we'll get to see what Borderline is. Borderline going to throw their zone look at Max Power to try and generate a quick turnover, or are they going to stick with their man defense?
Alors Max Power, les chandails orange viennent de prendre l'avance pour la première fois du match, alors que les deux équipes s'échangeaient les coups avec leurs lignes offensives respectives, s'échangeaient les points. C'est le premier point bris que Max Power vient d'inscrire. Ils viennent de prendre l'avance pour la première fois. Ils mènent 7-6. Ils viennent de créer un autre revirement. Il y en a plus un temps d'arrêt compte tenu de l'importance de l'opportunité qui se présente à eux d'inscrire un deuxième point bris consécutif et de remporter la première demi. Alors, Max Power en position ici. Ils remettront le disque immédiatement. Resetting to Long. Attacking the line. Long holding it. Dish to Parson. Parson feeding number 1, Marco Isrik. Stall getting high, finding an option. Long looking for a long pass, but no, rather break the mark. Nice disc movement again by Max Power. Just cross midfield, floating disc. Oh! Wow, that was, I don't know, caught, drop, and caught back by Long, who are saving the day and scoring the second break point in a row from Max Power. Wow.
Taking the half there with it, again, another unconventional. The number 83 again there, TJ Reeds from Borderline, trying to get a D on his, not his mark, but saw the throw coming up. He touched it, his mark touched it, and eventually ended up in the hands of the Max Power player. And like you said, getting the second break, but that sends, and even more importantly, sends them to halftime with Max Power coming out on offense at the start of the second half.
So Max Power leading 8-6, taking the lead in this first half of the Canadian Ultimate Championship Master Open Division 2018. We're going to take a short break for this first half. We'll be right back with you in a few seconds. Are back for the second half of this Master Open final here at Canadian Ultimate Championship 2018. We are in Brampton, Ontario. I am with Lucas Maine. My name is Etienne Fournier. We have the privilege of sharing with you guys this great final, great display of Ultimate being played by those two teams, Max Power, and they are wearing the orange shirts, and Borderline wearing the dark blue shirts, Borderline being from Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Max Power being from Ontario. Max Power initially seeded number 5 in this tournament, while Borderline had a target on their back. They were ranked number 1. So quite an upset journey for Max Power. They have not lost a game yet in that tournament, even though they were ranked number 5. So they had a very, very good tournament so far. Looking to finish it off with a victory and going back home with a gold medal. But I suspect Borderline has different plan.
I was just going to say, Borderline looking to come into the second half here with a different bit of gusto and maybe earn those 2 breaks back from that Max Power took in the first half. Their Borderline hasn't changed their their defensive setup. It doesn't look like we have the same. We're looking at the same suspects here on their D line, and maybe giving it a different try, looking at more man defense. I don't know. I don't have any suggestions for them in terms of beating Max Power. Max Power's looked very good on offense. Their throws have been quite impressive, going both ways on the field. So we'll have to see if Borderline, can pull something out and make this interesting to get it down to a nail biter.
So far, I believe that the edge of Max Power was, they had a slight edge on the running side and on the execution, also on the passes completion. And my sense is that the wind is kind of toning down compared to the first half. Do you feel the same thing?
It looks like, while looking at the flags, it's changing direction. It's going more left to right now than it was before, whereas it was coming a bit more direct. What's the word I'm looking for? Across the field, but so that'll give an advantage again to Max Power here, going more downwind than they were in the first half.
Max Power leading by 2, starting the second half on offense with the opportunity to take a 3-point lead. Nice flick, and there you go. Scoring the 9th point with the 3 points lead now. Max Power taking serious option over this gold medal.
Yeah, and converting that natural break I was talking about, coming out on offense after just breaking again. So now they're up 3 points.
Max Power lead 9-6.
Borderline looking now they'll have to hold and get 2 breaks to be back even. So a tough route now for Borderline, and that didn't look difficult for Max Power. They're, like you said, they look way more athletic. They look like they've got fresher legs. I don't know what they had for breakfast this morning. I'd like to get some myself, but they're definitely looking much better than Borderline right off the start of the second half.
As we all know, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. That's what our mother taught us, at least my mother. So, I suspect, as you very well said, Lucas, that Max Power have listened to their mother also for having a great breakfast. Regardless of breakfast, it's not about breakfast, it's about ultimate, and Max Power has displayed some great skills, ultimate-wise, both from a handling perspective, from a defense, and from a cutting perspective. That's why they are leading by 3 at the beginning of this second half of the National Championship Master Open Division here in Brampton, Ontario. Floating pull landed just about at the halfway mark of the field, about a yard shy of the sideline. Power with a man-to-man defense. Borderline looking to reduce the gap. They are trailing by right now. Nice pass. Oh, but it was a Max Power. I think it's Parsons who felt he was behind his opponent. So they're discussing, more likely called a foul. They're arguing about that. Parsons seems quite behind his opponent. So did he have the legitimate bid on the disc? I guess that's what they're trying to figure out.
I don't think so. I think the Max Power player, was too far behind in order to catch up, and potentially, I think what happened is he tripped over the Borderline player's feet when he was trying to catch up. So we'll see what the observer come out with here. But yeah, that was what I would have thought, that it was just an innocent trip. You tripped over the attacker's feet, and great grab, great throw, and again another short one for Borderline here. 2 or 3 passes into the end zone. So.
And that's the way you want to respond when you're trailing by 3. You got broke twice to end the first half. And now you started the second half on defense. You're getting scored, trailing by 3. How do you respond? Well, a 4 or 5-ish passes, and then you score. Great response by Borderline. Still in the race for that gold medal. Alors, c'est Borderline, ou plutôt Max Power, qui mène toujours par 2 points. C'est 9-7. Après qu'on a vu le très beau jeu long de Borderline dans la séquence. Il y a eu un appel. Chris Parson de Max Power qui a shooté derrière le joueur de Borderline qui a attrapé le point. le 7e point de l'équipe portant les chandails bleus foncés. Peu importe les discussions, les observateurs ont tranché et ils ont confirmé le point. Alors, seulement 2 points séparent les deux équipes, mais Max Power a inscrit 2 points bris très tard dans la deuxième demi. Alors, tout un match auquel on a le privilège d'assister en cette fin d'après-midi, cette fin de championnat canadien 2018 sur des terrains absolument magnifiques ici à Brampton. On joue présentement sur du synthétique, mais il y a des terrains naturels de très grande qualité alentour des infrastructures. Alors, bravo à Ultimate Canada. Max Power piping it.
It's hanging up there, though.
Floating. And it's being defended by number 22, Michael Thorne, denying that long pass.
Michael Thorne with the
Trying to break out of the zone quickly with a big pass, but the deep defender was able to catch up Thorne there, making a great block.
So for the first time, borderline zone defense is bringing some turnover rewards. A long pass, but not high enough and very easily intercepted by number 76, Andrew Mild. Slater with the disc going up the line. It popped out of his hand, and after that he tripped, so there's no call.
Borderline taking a bit more of time to set up this time rather than
That was funny.
yeah, the Max Power defender thought he was playing off disc defense when the man was trying to go pick the disc up. So
Still, when he realized it was
oh, they've bumped heads, I think, quite hard.
I believe it's number 33 just trying to pivot, and while he was pivoting, both head just crashed into one another.
Both players, yeah, holding their, well, it looks like Max Power's holding his eye more than, so might have collided a bit maybe with his eye socket and the forehead of the borderline player.
Medical staff already on field asking the players to come and see them. Good thing is that number 50 went out of the field on his own 2 feet without too much assistance. So same for the borderline players. So hopefully not too much damage. Everybody's working on Monday morning, so
Yeah, we don't want anybody to have to call in sick because they got hurt today.
right.
Maybe they can call in sick if they have too much fun at the party tonight, but we don't want you getting hurt in the game.
That's another argument, though.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, borderline still in possession of the disc, looking for a first break point of this game, which they are dearly hoping for. They're trailing by 2.
Looks like borderline going with a dominator offense, using the handlers a lot. There's 2 players deep trying to work through, but a low throw ends up turning it over and Max Power back on offense.
Unforced error by borderline, and so far Max Power had took advantage of those opportunities. Long, feeding his teammate right in the middle. Nice flick in the end zone, and it's a point. Max Power confirming their 3-point lead, 10-7 for the orange jerseys.
I think borderline, they're suffering for a little bit from the jitters on their D-line, actually getting a turnover and not being able to play a solid offense on the way back. An unforced error, as you said, Etienne, and that's something you don't hope for if you're on borderline. You want to make sure that at least the other team forced you to make a mistake. But Max Power again locked it in, made an easy flick around throw. Again, we've seen a lot of those this game where it's come to the near side field, they've thrown it over the top, and the players run from the middle of the field just to the edge to collect it for a goal.
Max Power had just entered the 2-digit zone. They have reached the 10th point. Borderline have only scored 7 yet. So it's always a good thing when you reach out the double-digit score. It just shows that there's more behind you than ahead. And if you're the first team to reach that double digit, well, you're in a good position. Max Power ready to make that pull to borderline. Looking to score another 0 point, which they dearly need.
Max Power looks calm and collected. They're up 2 breaks here. They have a little bit of room to give, and obviously another one would be great, but they don't look too worried.
Great lateral movement by borderline. Not much yardage earned, but still they are in possession, moving the disc around. It was quite a throw, high release throw, floating disc. A little risky, but still completed. Borderline in possession at the brick mark.
They're moving into their end zone looks now, so they've got a vertical stack in the end zone. 3 handlers at back, though, leaving the 3 isolated, 1 person deep. Struggling to get it off, but he finally does.
That was a very high stall pass. Still borderline. Oh, miscue here. Total miscue, number 22 looking for his teammate, but obviously he was going in the opposite direction. So Max Power quickly earning yardage, taking advantage of this unforced error, looking to score their 3rd break point of the game. They got momentum now, taking their time, entering a nice veteran call by number 15, Sasha Nikakov, taking a timeout, being fully aware of the importance of scoring a 3rd break point, considering that the O-line efficiency so far was very, very good on both sides of the field.
And I have a feeling if Max Power is going to convert this, it will demoralize borderline enough and make it very difficult for them to make a comeback here. 3 breaks is no easy feat to gain back. I mean, we're not running out of time. This has been a very quick game, but still 3 breaks when you haven't had one yet is very difficult to achieve. I like the call here by number 15 to take the timeout, just set the offense. They can probably call some sort of a play, isolate maybe one of their faster cutters, and look to get a quick pass off to make this easy and not have to work too hard. Again, earning another break for themselves potentially.
Borderline D-line still looking for answers. I mean, how many turnovers did Max Power have during this game? Less than 10, I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and they were not able to convert and take advantage of those opportunities. While on the other end, borderline has offered more opportunity to Max Power, and they took advantage of it. So, it's all a game of opportunity. If you don't take them, you will be punished. So, Max Power leading by 3. National Championship Master Open Division 2018. We are in Brampton with a perfect weather to play ultimate. The disc is in 2-1. Nikakov looking to complete a pass, putting it in the space too long. Good communication. These 2 guys knows one another. Was there a high stall count?
Yeah, maybe the borderline player believing he said that the T of 10 before that Max Power's players. It was an interesting throwing it knowing that only his receiver could see that he was about to throw it, and the borderline player face guarding a little bit.
A playbook German call, a German pass, I'd say. Just put the disc in the space. If the defender is only looking at the players he's defending, you'll get the first step, and so you can reach out to the disc. Still risky, but great execution. Peyton Long putting it back in the middle. Oh, nice bid by borderline. That's what they need to do to get back the disc, because Max Powers, they are holding dearly the possession of the disc, and they are scoring another break point, taking a 4-point lead into this final 11-7 Max Power.
And like I said, now I think this is a very, very difficult for borderline to dig themselves out of. It's been a hard-fought game, and we are a lot of games deep into this tournament. Finding legs to pull yourself out of this sort of a hole is difficult. But I mean, don't count borderline out yet, and don't use the C word just yet. But we can congratulate Max Power on a very well done games thus far, converting on borderlines mistakes and capitalizing right there again, taking their time, not rushing anything, and making it look easy as they have number 88 score the goal. So yeah, it was number 88 who scored the goal there, and distributing too. I don't think we've seen. I mean, besides Neil Parsons, who's scored a few goals for Max Power. Sorry, we haven't seen any standout players. It'll be interesting to see who gets crowned the MVP of this game too, because it's been pretty distributed across both teams.
I agree with you. I mean, Max Power, every player has contributed for the 11 point they now have on the scoreboard. So it will be a very tough duty to know who is the MVP, but that's not the purpose right now. There's still a lot of ultimate to be played. And Borderline looking for some answers. Initially, the final was intended to end at 6 o'clock, but we have started, I believe, something like 10 or 12 minutes late. So there's still, I'd say, a good 30-35 minutes of playing time ahead of us. So lots of time for Borderline to come back, and or for Max Power to reach out the 15-point gold medal score. But Max Power had just made the D. Peyton Long ensuring that this doesn't come back into the field. Resetting in the middle. Max Power looking to score a second break point in a row, just like they did to close off the first half. Great disc movement, great inside cut by the orange shirt team, which is not the observers, but Max Power.
That's the first thing I thought when I showed up at the field here and saw we had an orange team. I thought, is there 7 observers in? The observers has called this in. I don't know what the discussion is.
I think it was a definitive. Everybody was looking into the step of the player and the defender. Probably the not so good perspective on that. But still, no argument. Max Power in possession.
Knocking on a door again, trying to get another break and get them one step closer.
Parson with his numbers pulling off of his shirt, making the pass, and a second break point in a row by Max Power. They're now leading 12-7 in this final.
Max Power's offense, their first look is always to the break side, so they were looking to come to the near side of the field here when Borderline had a backhand force on. So their first looks was to get it off that sideline and bring it to this side too, and open up their inside out throws again. Max Power executing much better than Borderline thus far, and we can see why. They're looking to the break side first, and those throws don't look difficult. I think if Borderline were to make an adjustment here, it would be to clamp down on their rounds and not let that easy break throw happen, because they are getting a little bit behind on their checks downfield as well because of it. Looks like we might have a timeout from Borderline here. Is the timeout from Borderline? Sorry about that. Yeah, so Borderline taking a bit of extra time to consider what are they going to do next, but maybe I'm mistaken, because that was pretty quick for a timeout.
I don't know what they're going to do, but they need to make something happen very soon if they intend to get back into this game and at least fight for what the time remaining for that gold medal. Nobody enters a final with the silver medal in mind, of course. Everybody shoots for the gold.
I'd like to meet the first person who wants that, though. I'd love to see, oh, you know what, today I'm going to play for a second.
I'd like to meet that person also.
Yeah.
Alors, 12-7 pour Max Power, les chandails orange sur le terrain contre Borderline de la Nouvelle-Écosse, Nouveau-Brunswick. Max Power qui vient d'inscrire un 3e point consécutif, donc 2 points bris, pour vraiment prendre une sérieuse option sur cette médaille d'or tant espérée. La raison pourquoi les deux équipes se sont présentées ici à Brampton, Ontario, pour remporter les grands honneurs. Les deux équipes qui ont connu un excellent tournoi jusqu'à date. Borderline ayant connu quelques difficultés, entre autres contre Max Power. Max Power qui n'a pas connu la défaite au cours du week-end de ce tournoi qui a débuté jeudi dernier, mais présentement samedi. On voit la finale du côté Master Open et demain aura lieu la finale du côté féminin et la finale du côté masculin qui seront web diffusées aussi. Alors on vous invite à être des nôtres. Ça nous fera plaisir de partager ces moments avec vous. Borderline looking to score. They got broken twice in their last two open offense opportunity. Floating disc. It's being caught and converted. Here's a confirmation by the observers. 8-point is now Borderline score, still trailing by 4 points into the second half of this championship. So great disc movement, pretty straightforward, no hesitation. I think that last point lasted, what, 12, 13 seconds, something like that?
Not more than 5 passes. Again, the max power defender risking it to try and get a poach block there, but leaving the attacker exposed in the end zone. So Borderline taking advantage of that. And again, another quick point. So it's a bit of a contrasting story for this game because Borderline has had the quicker O points. They've scored 4 points with 5 passes or less, but they're still trailing by the 4 points here. And I think the key has been that Max Power's defense has converted when they've been given the opportunity versus Borderline's defense has had the opportunities. They just haven't been able to seal the deal. So, yeah, if you watch back on this game and you think, well, it looked like Borderline was playing well, their offense has had some great points, but it's been Max Power that's converted on their D opportunities as well.
You very well said it. Contrasting story from Borderline. How well they can execute on offense, but when they get the disc back, it seems like they're losing all their rhythm, their mojo, their karma. So they're just looking to, they need to do something to get back into this great execution that we are all aware they can achieve. Great pull by Borderline, floating very, very deep, but unfortunately landing out of bounds. So
thankful to the observer there, and I believe his name is Alan, for actually grabbing that disc. Otherwise, it would have been a long trek for the handler to go and get.
It was actually a great grab, one-hand grab. Eh?
Yeah.
Those observers
No
are
effort.
pretty effortless grab. Congratulations to the observers. They have been doing a great job here this weekend. It's a tough job to be an observers. Peyton Long with the disc, looking for an option, which he found by resetting the disc. Max Power, Borderline putting a lot of man-to-man pressure here, looking for a break point, which they have not been able to achieve so far in this game. Long, putting it deep, but it's being caught
By a fan.
Who
sends it to the beer garden.
Wow, those beer garden folks. No, the disc goes back into the field with probably some few drops of alcohol on it, which will more likely not impact the disc. We wish our disc remains sober during the game, obviously. Borderline back in possession, looking for first break point.
Deep.
Unfortunately, too far away. Still, the intention is good. The execution, some miscuing.
I will, I'll give him a little bit of a break there. It looks like the wind once again has shifted. It's now going a little bit right to left, but again, across field on the field for the win there. But again, just as I said earlier, Borderline getting that opportunity to break, but just not executing on their offense.
Max Power getting back the disc at their own goal line. Stuck on the sideline now, moving it up. Peyton Lang, him again, is having a great game. Definitely had an impact in moving this disc around. Nice dish to get some space off the line. Disc is floating, and it's being defended. So another opportunity for Borderline. There was 2 defenders here, so they're taking the disc not at the right line though. Anyway, he established his pivot foot. I believe he thought that the soccer line was the end zone line, but no, he could have earned a few yards there.
And yeah, it was the 18-yard box he thought he was tapping it in on. There's nothing illegal about that. He has the opportunity to do that.
Right.
I don't know if Max Power has now said that perhaps he traveled because of it. That doesn't ring right with me, but
maybe he said he changed direction, or is that what he's arguing?
Potentially, I can't really tell. The hand singles are always interesting to try and interpret from our side here.
If there's an improvement, I believe, in the upcoming CUCs, maybe to teach all the players the signs when there's a pick call, when there's a foul call, are you contesting, is there a stall down? I know it's something that at Worlds people are being trained to, and at Worlds, it's not everybody that speaks English, so it's you have no choice. Canadian Ultimate Championship, everybody talks roughly the same language, so you can all understand one another, but those signals are very helpful if you're on the sideline or if you're a coach and you want to know what's happening. I think there's an opportunity there for Ultimate Canada to improve the game experience for the players, for the coaching staff, and maybe for the webcasters also. Borderline looking for the first break point, trailing by 4 in the second half of this championship game. Master Open Division. Dark blue jerseys moving the disc around at half field. Oh, it was very well cut, but there was 2 targets in that in cut. Still no damage for Borderline. Resetting very calmly the disc. They know what's at stake here. They're really looking for. Oh, but Neil Griffith, nice anticipation. There was some contact, but there's no foul call. Neil Griffith being a gentleman, ensuring his opponent is okay, which gladly he is. Still, Max Power taking back the disc. Their O-line has not been broken yet in that game, but I think there's a foot block. Is there a call?
Yeah,
yes, there's a call.
He doesn't think that the disc left his hand when he got blocked, so we're gonna come back probably to the observer here. And yeah, it looks like they are going to the observer, and
the observers hearing both sides of the story. No foul. It seems, if my understanding is correct, Max Power player still arguing.
And it looks like because of the argue, he might be getting a card here. That's unfortunate. I can understand. I can be on his side there. I can understand. Oh, no, it was just a little joke. No, it's okay.
Okay. Everybody's smiling.
Good to see the officiation can laugh about it as well.
All right. I guess that's part of the ultimate spirit. So some discussion still. The output of that is a turnover. And Borderline will have another opportunity of scoring a first break point of this game. Number 12, Chris Cooper-Smith taking the disc. Looking to reset. Very well defended by Max Power. Disc is floating. Griffith fighting for this disc, but Cooper-Smith lending it. Still lots of dark jersey traffic right in the middle. No damage yet. Oh, nice bid by Max Power. A little too short though. About 10 yards shy of her first break point. And unfortunately,
no. For
it was 2 players in the same space.
Third time unlucky. This one, the previous two times we had the 2 players going for the disc, they ended up with it, but this time unable to come out with it in the end zone when it mattered. We're
talking about opportunities. You take them or you leave them on the field, and unfortunately Borderline has left a few of those break point opportunities. Maybe a few too much, so far at least. They're trailing by 4.
And a big throw from Max Power. I think it's been a long point to try and dig deep into the tank and go and get that disc. It's very, very difficult. As we saw there, the Max Power player just didn't have.
To your point, the same pass early in the first half, maybe he would have at least chased it. But now maybe it's a long point, as you very well mentioned. Players are getting tired. We see some players walking with their hands on their hips, looking for some energy late in this championship game, late into that tournament. Everybody's been playing very intense ultimate since Thursday. Borderline looking for some momentum.
Being patient with it too. They haven't looked to jack it upfield either. Slowly working their undershots.
Ooh, that was quite a tough.
There's going to be a card coming from the observer on that one too. Yeah.
We see the Max Power's elbow landing on the back of the Borderlines player. Guess it's number 76 from Max Power. Andrew Mild. He landed pretty roughly on the Borderlines player, which will take off number 33, Ryan Stewart. He had a great game. Or number 83, I'm sorry. TJ Reeves will take off, get a sub. So yellow card was shown.
It's tough on this turf field to come to a stop. It's really easy to get going on turf. It's really difficult to get a stop without doing something like that, where number 76 actually had to use the opponent to stop. But
Borderline threatening. And here it is, their first break point of this game. Borderline closing the gap. Still trailing by 3. It's 12-9 favoring Max Power.
And Borderline earned that. It was a long point, and I think they just earned it on pure grit, outrunning their offensive opponents, their Max Power. And again, unconventional. We had a couple of times where two cutters came down on the disc, and twice they came up with it. The third time they didn't. That time it looked like it was one person up the line. It was sure who was going to get it. And now Borderline again looking to try and put something together here and maybe get the ball rolling on a couple of breaks in a row.
You mentioned they earned that last point, their break point with grits. So let's see how much grits remains in the tank. Can they get some momentum? They have now scored 2 points in a row. Last one being a break point, their first of this final. Trailing by 3. If they can align a second break point in a row, we would have a totally different picture of this final.
For sure, the momentum swings quite heavily when the first break back, not so much. We can still play defense. That's nice to see. But that second break in a row, that's an energy boost for sure. And I'm just saying here that TJ Reed, who actually got knocked over in that last point, he's back on the defensive line again here to try and help out his team. So good to see he didn't get roughed up too bad. Max Power looking to maybe bring some of that silky offense they've had throughout the game.
There's probably 20 minutes left into the game. 3 points apart. These two teams are floating this. Is that? Oh, and there's a turnover. A nice D. That this was floated a little too much, which gave an opportunity for Borderline to get there, to tip that disc away from the intended receiver. So Borderline looking for some momentum, and unfortunately, unforced error here. That's too bad.
Yeah, that's a tired error, looking to grab it with one hand instead of two, and they're going to pay for it there as Max Power punches it in on the far end zone, far side of the end zone. He cut up and close to the handler who had the disc, and it was a short little dinky pass that he tried to reach out with one hand and bounced off his wrist. So that you can see a bit of the fatigue coming out there. It's not always physical. We saw on the right hand side somebody couldn't chase down the disc. That one was just a mental lapse of not being able to focus and concentrate on catching the disc.
How that unforced error, how punishing is that? You have and even the crowd was cheering. It sounds like the crowd is maybe more in favor of Borderline. We've heard them. We're hearing some cheers from Borderline. So you had a great opportunity and just, pretty straightforward little dish reset, and you just miscommunication. There was no pressure. Just, I was not expecting that pass.
Yeah.
And then right off the bat, Max Power just punishing with two passes, and then they score. So still about 20 minutes left into this game. 13-9, Max Power 2 points shy of a gold medal in this 2018 Canadian Ultimate Championship. This week was held the single gender division, while I believe next week, if I'm not mistaken, in Surrey, British Columbia, will be Surrey will host the mixed division for the Canadian Championship.
Yeah, and I'll be there bringing you the live streams from Surrey. So you can look forward to hearing my beautiful voice once again. But borderline shooting deep as I say that. Looks like it's just too far.
Looking forward to hear your great sexy voice over the Surrey's region.
Hopefully it's not too raspy. I won't have played a weekend of Ultimate before it, so.
We love it just like that. That's perfect. So once again, Max Power in control of the disc. Incomplete pass by Borderline. Max Power 70 yards away from a 14th point in this game. Still leading by 4. Attacking the line with success so far. Another point, another pass up the line. Throwing it long. It's going to be battle, and it's completed and confirmed by the observer. That's a break point by Max Power. They are now 1 point away from championship.
Jason Chan with a beautiful throw downfield there, working the wind perfectly, not throwing it too far, just letting his receiver run right onto it. No chance for the defender with a throw like that. Very impressive from as it looks like the back of his shirt here, Mr. J. Chan. And the borderline, sorry, not the borderline, the Max Power players all have taped numbers above their actual numbers on their jerseys. I think that's to help us out here in the booth so we know exactly who's scoring what, but it's funny to see that a couple of their players actually have the tape is falling off as they're running around the field here.
So Max Power 1 point shy of a championship, of a gold medal. So let's see how Borderline responds to that. And we saw in the last point, like Max Power attacking the line 2 or 3 times with success. And, you know, as a defending team, you got to somehow, some way shut down those up the line cuts, you know, putting your body into the spaces. You know, you cannot allow that. Maybe 1 time, but 3 times in a row. After that, they're just firing a long pass. You need to be able to shut down those up the line cuts somehow, some way.
And that's something that the coach should be mentioning. I don't see a coach for Borderline here, so it's probably one of the players who's probably, that's his responsibility. But that is something that a coach should be recognizing. Hey, guys, we're letting them go up the line too easy. And you could say as well, not even just from the handler positions, there was a lot of cuts under, just to the open side under. So it looks like Borderline wasn't taking anything away from Max Power. They were just getting whatever they wanted.
Opportunity. That's the key word, I believe, into this game. So still Borderline blowing this long pass. It was too low, too short. Just trying to do things fast because they know the clock is ticking. They're trailing by 5. Max Power have a lot of room. Only 1 point away from the win.
Great break throw there again. Max Power exposing that side.
There was an opportunity long, but Raoul preferred to hold it back, ensuring possession. Don't want to attempt any risky throw. Max Power halfway down the field. Looking to move the disc around. A little dish in the middle to Sasha, floating it in the, oh, that was intercepted by his own player, which now blades it in the end zone. And it's a championship pass in favor of Max Power, winning this game 15-9, earning the gold medal at 2018 Master Division Championship. Congratulations to Max Power.
And that was a great unintended receiver, but a good choice. I think there was 2 defenders deep that may have gotten a hand on that if he hadn't intercepted at number 17 there. I was just looking up his name, Greg Kramer, who pulled it down and eventually able to throw the goal to Daryl Nantias. And yeah, Max Power, like we said at the beginning, Etienne, looked like the better team, and the score shows it. 15-9 the final here with them coming down with the last point easily, it felt like.
What an upset by Max Power. They were initially ranked 5th out of 6 of that tournament, and they will be heading home with well, 7 victories, no loss, and a gold medal into their luggage or around their neck or whatever. So congratulations to Max Power. Congratulations also to Borderline for their great tournament. I'm sure that the silver medal will kind of probably pinch at first, but they will more likely enjoy it if they take some perspective into it, because they have provided a good show, even though they could not take advantage of the opportunities that was offered to them, but still they fought until the end, and that's the ultimate spirit. So thank you very much, Lucas. That was a lot of fun doing this webcast with you.
A pleasure.
It was a lot of pleasure. We're looking forward to hear you when you will be webcasting from the West Coast for the Mix CUC Championship. So in the meantime, that was Etienne and Lucas. That was our fourth and last webcast for the day. So looking forward to see you tomorrow, while we'll be displaying the women's and the men's open division final here in Brampton, Ontario. So hope you will join us. So in the meantime, stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.
Bring your CUC player pass or volunteer pass to get